Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Hello everyone. Epicurus was a Greek philosopher who asked questions about suffering. He said, "Is God willing to prevent evil, but not able? Then he is not all powerful. Is he able, but not willing? Then he is malevolent. If he is both able and willing, then why call him God?" There are two assumptions, however, within Epicurus's paradox, which is number one, this life ought to be a place where suffering does not exist. Number two, God ought to be the one to end that suffering. So let's challenge those assumptions. The first one, that this life ought to be a place that suffering does not happen. It seems to be the case that that is because we think that suffering is a bad thing. But I would question, is all suffering bad? Is the suffering that one undergoes to study, to get a job, to earn money bad? Is the suffering that one undergoes in managing a business to earn money bad? Well, when people talk about suffering, they seem to be referring to things more akin to cancer or other medical illnesses that cause pain. Well, then I would ask, is pain always bad? What about the pain one feels when they work out in the gym and their muscles are feeling sore and their muscles get bigger and they become stronger? Is that pain also bad? Is that suffering bad? It is certainly too simplistic to say that all suffering is bad. And I'm not trying to dodge the question here, just to bring attention to the fact that if suffering did not exist, then life as we know it would not be the same. We would not be human beings. To be human is to experience some level of suffering all the time. The very fact that you cannot do certain things is a form of suffering because you may want to, for example, fly, but you do not have wings, so you cannot fly. So you suffer the the difference between your imagination and desire and the reality of what you can actually do. In Islamic thought, God has created human beings, and this life is a test. And very interestingly, in the third surah of the Quran, God asks a question to the believers. He says, "Did you think that you would just enter heaven where God hasn't tested the people who will struggle and fight from among you? This life is a test. We were put here as human beings, and the conditions of the test involve suffering. For example, as Muslims, we have to be kind and gracious towards our parents. It's a very easy thing to say, but the difficulty arises when your parents are restricting your freedom and causing you to suffer in that way, that you have to uphold the high standards. These are the conditions of the test that we find ourselves in, and our response to them can either be of gratitude and servitude and obedience to God, or ingratitude and disobedience, in addition to rebellion against God, as some people choose that path. The idea that suffering is a problem for a theist is, in my view, mostly stemming from the Christian idea of eschatology, which is what happens near the end of times, that Jesus of Nazareth will descend and God's kingdom will be established onto earth and there will be justice and peace and happiness for everyone. That is not the Islamic perspective of how it's going to go. The Islamic perspective is that this world will end, everyone will die, and there will be a day of judgment in which our deeds are put on a balance. And if our good deeds outweigh our bad deeds, then you will go to heaven, otherwise, you will be punished. The second assumption in Epicurus's line of reasoning is that God ought to end suffering. In Islamic thought, an ought does not apply to God. God simply is the way that He is. In the Quran, it is said that He will not be asked about what He does, but they will all be asked about what they do. Watch the video that I made, Who is God, to get a better understanding of what the Islamic concept is of the divine. In short, if God were to decide to give us all terminal stage cancer right now, there's nothing we can first of all do about it, and secondly, it is his right. He has created us, he can test us in any way that he wants. That does beg the question of did we agree to be here in this test? And according to the Quran in Surah number 7, the answer is yes. And I'll display the verse on the screen right now. However, consider the story of Job, in Arabic known as Ayub, in the Old Testament and in the Quran. This was a man who had extreme wealth and many sons and loads of animals. And one day, he receives news that all of his wealth has been taken, his houses have been destroyed, and his children have been killed. God took everything away from this man, and he responded not with cursing the name of God, but by simply saying that the Lord God has given, the Lord God has taken, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. This is what God is testing. He is testing that are you only going to worship Him in times of ease, or are you going to show loyalty to Him even when times become difficult? To reiterate, this life is not meant to be a place of eternal bliss and enjoyment. It can provide that, but it is primarily a test. Eternal bliss is only achievable in heaven, because however much fun you will be able to achieve in this life is incomparable to literal eternal bliss. So, to answer Epicurus, God does not cause suffering as a malevolent agent. He sometimes allows it to occur as a part of the test that we agreed to sit. To claim anything about his person from the mere existence of suffering would be a massive jump under any sort of rational reasoning. My name is Ahmed Shoaib, a medical student at the University of Oxford. Thanks for watching.